Hi, welcome to the Armed Guardian podcast. I'm your host, Brian. We're here with Crystal, our co host, and Lana Bryan from Right to Bear. We're going to talk today about the Right to Bear legal protection program and get some good information to help you safeguard yourself and your family. So, without further ado, hey, Lana, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much, you and Crystal, for having me.
Thank you. How are you doing today, Crystal?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much.
That's great, great. So, Lana, I I've met you or haven't met you, but you had communicated with me a couple years ago and tried to get me to come over to work with you, and things just didn't work out at the time. But now we are here, and I like the Right to Bear program, and I wanted to have you on to kind of talk about it and spread the word of what is Right to Bear, since it is
Yeah,
a fairly new legal protection plan and
right.
membership, and it's something that I felt that I wanted to get people out there aware of it, and have you on to answer some questions. So,
That'd be great. I'm
all
so
right.
excited.
So, give us a brief bio of who Lana Bryan is.
So I'll tell you, me in a nutshell, right? I'm the proud grandmother of 8 grandkids. Um, my husband's Mike Bryan, retired Coast Guard, um, in the Coast Guard. We live in Savannah, Georgia, right outside of Savannah, in Georgia. And I'll tell you, I have been blessed during my career. Started out in radio. I was in radio. I went to school for broadcast journalism, so I was in radio. Was on air for a while, and then after that, I got into publishing. But I always had that love for guns, and started out shooting with my daddy when I was very little, and did it as a hobby. Did it as a competitive. I was a competitive shooter. Um, Started just loving the shooting aspect, and then became an instructor. And then once I became an instructor, I started teaching friends and family and loved it even more. So I always had that in the background. And then I started, as I was getting more and more involved in the political spectrum, because that's what tends to happen when you're in the Second Amendment and you're an advocate for the Second Amendment, you tend to go political. So I did. I ran for office in Colorado, where I had lived for 30 years. Um, Served as the state party secretary for the Republican Party there in Colorado. Watched the blueprint take over the entire state, and California just moved to Colorado, um, which was pretty scary to watch the state go from completely red to completely blue in less than one election cycle. So when I see it happening, I can kind of tell what's going to happen across the country, as I watch bills get pushed and passed. Um, some dear friends of mine owned Whistling Pines Gun Club in Colorado Springs. They had 2 locations. So they had an east and west location. And at the time, I was working at Centennial Gun Club. So, and that's in Centennial, Colorado. So I was doing that commute, and it's a rough commute. It's, from Colorado Springs to Denver. So they asked me to come back and kind of run Whistling Pines, and I said absolutely. Came back over there, and as an instructor, I started seeing it's more important that I teach people how to get their groupings at half dollar size at 7 yards, teach them the laws of where to carry, where not to carry, but also teach them what happens after you've had to use force, especially to stop the threat, right? So I got into the space of legal defense because that's probably the most important part. I said, you train every day, or you should train to defend yourself and your family
Right.
with the best equipment, with the best, instructors. Now, what happens after you've had to use force? Most people would go, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't have a plan in place.
Right.
So I started incorporating that into my classes. And I started saying, it's important that you understand. I want you walking out this door a well rounded, educated, responsible gun owner. And in order to do that, I have to teach you the full 360, or I suck as an instructor.
Right.
And that's why I got into this space with Right to Bear. Right to Bear, we love all the companies that are sharing the space with us because they've paved the way. However, Right to Bear took all of what they offer and made it better. And we're so proud of what we promote, what we provide, the benefits we give our members, the partnerships that we have with our partner facilities. We're just so proud of what we have done.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great to hear. Really, I got a dog whimpering over here on the
Aw.
but
Always.
yeah. So how was Right to Bear started? How were they birthed?
So they were birthed by two guys, Frank Cannon and Perry Orth. They're insurance guys by trade.
Okay.
Wonderful, salt of the earth, just wonderful guys. And they saw this like big void because a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, my homeowners will cover the umbrella policy and, you know, all the insurance lingo. And they said, there's this whole area that's missing.
Right.
And how can we do this? And so it was started by Frank and Perry, and they want to protect every American. And it's and their motto is God, family, country, in that order. And I mean, I think that's why I respect them so much. And that's what they did. So they started it. So it's all Frank and Perry's fault.
Okay. All right. Well, with all the competitors that are out there that have been before Right to Bear, what did the founders see the missing that was there, was or is out there? What niche were they looking to try to capture in what's already been partially paved out there?
So I guess the big thing is what they wanted to do is make a more inclusive package for a member. When a member signs, they shouldn't have to worry about expert witness,
Right.
because expert witness is kind of part of core coverage. So they included that.
Okay.
Another part was they said, you know, hey, they asked instructors, they asked people all around, what else is important? Well, an instructor says psychological support's very, very important. If you've had to use force to stop the threat, you're going to need to talk to somebody.
Right.
If that being a therapist, a psychologist, a pastor, it's up to you, but you need to see somebody. So they take care of that. Gun replacement, because Right to Bear covers all weapons, as in a use of force situation. Guns are one of those things that average person, that EDC might be all they have.
Right.
If they used that, the cops take it, it goes into evidence, it stays there through the whole process. Now you've left that member completely defenseless.
Right.
So Right to Bear gives them a gun. It's gun replacement, which is huge. Yeah. That was a big missing part. Negligent discharge, unlimited criminal and civil attorney fees, criminally and civilly. You know, it's funny, and I know if I tell you and Crystal this, you both are going to laugh, because my students over the years would always say, Lana, how in the heck do you sue somebody in civil court when you won in criminal? Right? You hear that like
easily.
All the time. Yeah, easily. Let's call OJ. You know, find out what OJ says about that, because it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a sue happy society, and you're going to be sued civilly behind every criminal charge. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
I tell my same thing. It doesn't matter what happens on the criminal side. The civil side is completely different. And you can and will be sued civilly, and they can win. So
yeah,
you're right.
Preponderance, right? Preponderance. It's
ridiculous.
Yep.
And it's like what I tell my students that, you know, especially with the gun replacement, I said, you know, what are you going to do if, you know, you are involved and police investigate and they take into evidence your gun? A lot of them think, I hadn't thought about that, and a lot of things that they don't process whenever they start caring for there's protection, but there's avenues, and that's where good training comes into play. Telling them about the things that are gonna happen, that will happen. Just like the civil suit, you get involved in a self-defense situation, and
No.
heaven help, the attacker you are involved with that passes, and baby mama with the 4 kids is, you took my boyfriend, my baby's daddy's, he was my only sole support and everything, and I can't live without his support, and she's gonna definitely file a suit against you. So a lot of people don't think, like you said, Crystal, they think that they win the criminal case, it's over with. No, you're just starting, and
Just
usually
beginning.
that's about 2-3 years after the criminal trial ends before the civil suit comes in. So
Yeah.
that's a big thing that a lot of people, whenever I tell them that, they don't. It's like I see their eyes get big as $half, and it comes into play. You want to
Yeah.
ask this next question, Crystal? That was one of yours.
I know you answered one of the questions you already asked, so let me hold on, let me get my glasses because I can't see this here. You know the struggle. I'm gonna look funny for a minute. So as far as attorneys go, I know you have network of attorneys, but are we able to use outside attorneys if we choose to? Like we have a friend or family member that we would prefer to use? How does that work?
Yes. So great question, Crystal, because we get that a lot, right? I was in class one day and this lady goes, I want Johnny Cochran. And I said, well, I do think that that wonderful man did pass away. And I said, however, if you could get him to come back for you, I mean, hey, it's all on you. So yes, we will absolutely allow our members to select their own attorneys or use our network. We just have to make sure that our general counsel gets to vet them and that they kind of go through our process, because we don't want, well, Uncle Fred is an attorney. Well, Uncle Fred might be a real estate lawyer. So does Uncle Fred understand that the criminal side of the house, that there's an immunity hearing before the bond hearing, before the immunity hearing, all of this happens. You have to make sure the right attorney is in place. So we will absolutely do that. But we do need to have them vetted through our system.
All right. And how many attorneys do we have in the network?
Well, we have so many being added every day that I promise you, I can't even keep up, but I will tell you that it's over 100 right now. But we have so many across the United States that are literally working with the CK Keller law firm. That is, can we come on board? Can we come on board? So it's been really great to see this explosion on the attorney side of the house. And, some of these attorneys, wow, their backgrounds are just like, they're 2A, like, I'm so impressed. So yes, it's great.
That's very important to have somebody that's going to support us.
Yeah.
Okay. Right to bear covers some professions that others would exclude from coverage in a self-defense incident. What are some of the professions, and why did Right to Bear decide to extend coverage where others wouldn't? I think this is this is one of my favorites since I am a former law enforcement. It's very, very good. So why did they decide to do that?
I'll tell you, Brian, Crystal, this was something that was so passionate to me. And because I love our brothers and sisters in blue, and I mean, for what they do for us. And then even security guards, probably armed or unarmed, they're probably the most thankless job in the entire world, because they're the ones dealing with the riffraff on a daily basis, and they go hands-on, but they're holding all the liability. Cops have things called the FOP, right? The fraternal order. They have the PBA, the Police Protection Association. There's a lot of different programs for law enforcement. However, it covers them in jurisdiction or on the clock, and then it doesn't cover their family. Then there's a step further. will they look out for the department and throw a good cop under the bus on something that could very well be just a gray area?
Right.
So we cover our law enforcement officers, security guards, armed, unarmed, church safety team members.
Mm-hmm.
We cover you in a working capacity. That's the language you need to see. So every other program out there, I'm not sure what their wording reads. I tell everybody, do your own research. But as for us at Right to Bear, we will cover you in that working capacity.
Okay.
So that's huge.
Yeah. And it's like I've told several law enforcement officers that I know and have promoted or have talked about self-protection liability coverage. No, okay, you're not on the clock, you're on your regular off-duty time, and switched around there. Uh, but you're on your off-duty time and you witness a felony or something that maybe your state has a law that if you witness a crime that you have to step in and handle. Uh, at that point, is that legal plan going to cover you because you were off duty, okay, but you witnessed something by law, you've got to act. Are they gonna cover you now, or the department's point of a phrase I heard Ken Scott say, the department is gonna cover their butt before, if it's better for them to just write a check or whatever, they're gonna do that and they're gonna leave you hanging.
And I tell every cop that I run into, I'm like, look, I'm not saying cancel anything that you already have set up, because the FOP, the one thing that's great about them in particular is they have bereavement packages, right? You're shot in the line of duty. Your family is taken care of. I mean, let's be real, right? We're going to have a real conversation. You want to make sure that your family is cared for.
Yes.
Because of what you sacrifice, right? We don't have a bereavement package. So don't cancel what you have. You add Right to Bear as a supplement.
Right.
It's definitely something just to cover your butt.
Having been in insurance before, I see it like it's a rider policy to a already existing policy.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win. And no, the thing, as I worked private security down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, after I got out of the military for a while, and there is no protection for the private security, armed or unarmed, and I don't know, they could but get coverage through one of these other places, but more than likely they're not going to cover you if you're involved in it while you're working your security. And what are you going to do? You're going to be hung out and hope that you can find a good attorney and hope that you get all the resources that you need. So this is another thing that I like about the Right to Bear program, that they are very adamant about covering those people that in other areas or other coverage, other companies would be lacking coverage. So
right. That's something very proud that we are. I mean, when we talk to people, I want you to be covered. I don't care if you're 7 or 97. I want you covered, and we cover that law-abiding citizen. We cover you while you're in a working capacity. So we have your back. Know what? Stephen Williford, speaking of him earlier, with you and Crystal, he's a dear friend of mine. And after Stephen's incident in Sutherland Springs, Texas, where 26 people died, 20 people were injured. When he tells the story, it's absolutely, you just can't help but just cry, right? I mean, it's terrible. He did a great thing. He's called the Barefoot Defender. I'm so proud of this guy. I love him so much, just as a friend. And he said after he was done, he was interviewed by everybody but the alphabet soup. He was like, it was this 3-letter agency and that 3-letter agency and that one and that one. He said, boy, I'll tell you, I mean, people have to understand, you better have someone on your side.
Right. Yeah. And another thing that I like about the Right to Bear coverage that is missing in some of the others is the recuperation, the non-recoup that they have, where others,
Yes.
they'll protect we'll go to bat for you, but if you get charged, well, we might be coming back after you for what we paid. So, and that's something that I really like seeing in the Right to Bear program. You want to expound on that maybe a little bit?
Yeah. So this is some cool stats, right? So 98% of every self-defense case across the United States, 98%, they all end in a plea deal.
Mhm.
Crazy.
Yep.
People only see that 2%. That's not like we go to trial. You don't go to trial. You're taking a plea. It's 98%. Well, the minute you take that plea deal, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're admitting guilt, right? So with other companies out there, they have the right to recoup. They can try to get back their attorney fees that they've already issued on your behalf or paid for on your behalf. That is not something we do at Right to Bear. We don't have any kind of recoup package or anything like that. What happens between you and your attorney is you and your attorney.
Okay.
We don't get in the middle of it.
And then something else too is the if after a self-defense incident, once you make that call to report it, you got legal protection there, because Right to Bear considers it your client attorney privilege, so it's not immediately discoverable, where in other places you go through a call center, and whatever you say on that call center, on that recorded line, can be used against you. And if you say the wrong thing when you're calling in to report your incident, that can come back and bite you in the butt. And that's one thing I like. Another thing that I like about it is that attorney-client privilege that Right to Bear has for their calls, their income crisis call.
Yeah, they do. It's one of the other programs out there. It's a really fancy term, and I'm not going to say it, but when you call this number, you get a hold of this really fancy term. And I always say when I'm in a class and somebody says I have that program, I'm like, it's awesome, because I'm glad you have a program. I mean, at least you have something.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, it's Jason Bourne, right? And they're going to fast rope out of a helicopter, and they're there right when the incident happens. And I just go, you're talking to a call center. So all that's admissible in court. You need to understand that you need to have that privilege, right? You need to have the client attorney privilege.
Right.
And that is the most important part of right after a use of force incident.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to ask the next question there, Crystal? I think kind of got a couple of them answered right in line.
Yeah, you did. You took some of my questions. One of the questions I have, we were talking about firearm replacement. What is the process for that? How long does it normally take?
A few days. We literally have a security guard. Actually, this just happened. That's why it's kind of fresh on my mind. A security guard. He actually is in a undisclosed state. I'm not going to say which one, but it's a different state. And law enforcement took his gun. It went into evidence. And so his gun was gone. Within, I think it was 3 days, within 3 days, the new gun was sent to an FFL near him. And he went and picked up his gun. So it was 3 days. So you want to make sure you don't use a family heirloom, right? Don't use a gun that you can't replace.
Right.
I tell everybody, when I'm in class, I use it as a joke. I'm like, hey guys, make sure you pick up a throwaway. And everybody goes, you want me to get a gun on the black market? And I'm like, no. He said, I want you to go get a SIG, a Glock, a Walther. I want you to get something you can just buy tomorrow. Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. Don't be so attached to it. It's just a tool.
Yeah.
But you get those fancy sights put on there and your Cerakote job and all of that. We're not doing all that for you. Yeah. We're putting back a gun in a box in your hand. So that's how that works.
Yeah, so they deliver it to you. It's not, they don't give you like a check and you go buy it replacement. So they actually,
no, it's gun for gun.
Okay.
It's literally that one, because they're going to have the make, model, of course, because the law enforcement has taken that gun. It's in evidence. So they're going to know what gun that is. And we're just going to send you back a gun, exactly the same type of gun, if we can. I mean, if it's my Dan Wesson, we're like, whoa, wait a second. What was it?
Yeah, one of the things I tell my students, and this is something else they don't think about. They'll go buy a gun, they'll get it dressed up and everything, Cerakoted, gun skin, and all this, and then they treat it like, oh, this is a precious stone here. I'm glad that you like your gun, but I said, in the end, I just want something that is I can depend on to defend myself in a situation. Because I carry a standard blued semi-auto. I don't do any of the colors or anything like that. And I've had people, why don't you get yours, with the American flag or the Punisher skull on the back of the striker, the semi-auto and stuff? Like, well, one, the gun, I don't, if I spend the money to get one dressed up, I don't want to carry that in a daily situation, because who's going to see it? If I'm proud of it and want to display it, put it in a gun case above the mantle or something, and keep it there. But also, they should be careful the accessories that they put on the gun skins, the plates, and everything, because that gun is going to be presented, if you're charged or brought up on charges, that's going to be visible to the jury, to the court. And if you got this something that's could be seen as what's the word I'm looking for, no negative, I guess, anything that could be seen in a negative light, that's going to look bad on you, and we don't want that. And that's going to make your climb a lot harder, your fight a lot harder in the criminal and civil court. So
There's an entire class, Brian, that teaches that.
okay.
Not even to put, your mat before you walk you through your front door that says this house is protected by Smith and Wesson, right? Or we don't use warning shots, or all of that. Boy, that is used against you in a court of law. How long you been a member of the NRA? Okay. Well, for 10 long, cold, dark years of that heart of yours, you've been wanting to take the life of another person.
Yeah.
No, but it's how the media portrays, and how you get the 12 people on that jury that are like-minded.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. So
Yeah, and
just like they look at your social media posts to see what you posted. They look at all that, and even like if you change your trigger, like, oh, you have a lighter trigger,
yeah.
They say you'll kill somebody much easier, much faster. So they do look at all that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
absolutely right.
crazy out there. No, an attorney's going to try to, prosecutor is going to try to, our civil attorney, going to try to use anything to persuade you, or not persuade, but to put you in that negative light, even something that is not meant to be negative or defamatory or anything. If they can make that twist, just a little bit to question that, then they consider that a win, because it's used against you. So
I was watching a case the other day on, I'm one of those junkies. And so I was watching this case on TV. It was a self-defense case.
mm-hmm.
And the prosecution literally on the stand asked the person that actually had to use force, did you use a cop killer bullet? And I had gone, what did he just say?
Yeah.
And I say, well, no, but in my head right away, no, it's because he's a responsible gun owner is why he used a jacket at hollow point, but that's why. But to those 12 jurors, I can only imagine their faces, because they have no idea what you're talking about. So they're thinking jacket at hollow point. What?
Yeah.
Why would you use that? Well, because I'm not a gangbanger that's going to use a full metal jacket and kill some innocent.
Yeah.
Right. So shocking.
I tell people whenever they go through my concealed class to, the self-defense ammo, there's a plethora of it out there. A lot of different companies, a lot of different styles and everything. Do your research. One, you don't want to have this fancy, ammo that does. I'm not even going to go into the different names, but you want to verify that it's got a proven track record. It's not something that's just came out on the market and somebody's pitching it good, and you happen to use it in a self-defense. That may come to a negative light to you. But I tell them, check with their local law enforcement. Ask them, what bullet they carry. If they're able to carry that style bullet and that's what you decide to carry, it's going to look more favorable for you because you're following what local law enforcement does, as far as the ammo type, and it's not going to be something that's could be seen in a negative light.
Correct. Absolutely.
I know you shared can you share some stories of some individuals that have you had to use right to bear and what the outcome was? In a nutshell, without violating any.
Right. I was going to say yes. I mean, there are many, right, to talk about. However, we don't discuss that kind of stuff at all. Again, it's between the attorney and the client, so we don't get in the middle of it. Like other programs out there, they're going to answer to those people. We don't, because again, we just kind of stay out of that. I will tell you, there was the one where the girlfriend was in a domestic violence situation, and had to defend herself with her drunk boyfriend, which we actually went to trial on that and won. So there's and she was the one charged. So that was an amazing one. One that happened where it was even way after the fact. It was probably 6 months after the incident occurred, which happened to just be a road rage type incident. It went 6 months before charges were filed. And once charges were filed, we handled that, went to the grand jury, was a no bill. That was remarkable because that story in itself, I think we're actually coming out with a testimonial on that. So we'll allow the member to discuss it themselves. But that one was just amazing because of what transpired. It had happened 6 months before. It was all done. Everything was over. And, she happened to be at work, and, the police show up and say, you're being arrested. What was that?
That's just terrible.
Oh, 6 months later. But it was because the other party went to court on whatever charges that they had and brought to light a complete lie. And if you do that, then it's being pulled. So it was unreal. And I think that's what shocked us, because when we heard it, we were like, how can that be? I mean, it had been 6 months, but the police all have body cams on, every part of their orifice, I mean, I don't blame police officers for doing it, but it's there. So why don't they just review the tapes? Well, it's because you can sue anyone, anytime, any place for anything. And, now you have to go backwards. And so we've had several of those, and, or several cases like that. But I'll tell you, I'm just so proud of our legal team. They're brilliant. They're amazing. So.
Okay. All right. You have any other questions, Crystal?
No, I don't think so. But if I do, I'll send her an email.
Yeah.
Hey, Crystal, I love your background. I want to kind of sit right where you're at now.
Well, you got to come to Florida so you can just come out here and relax. But you got to come before it gets too hot.
Yes, exactly. This is the time. This is the time.
Yeah.
I say in my job, because I'm the national director for strategic growth, so I have to travel all over all 50 states, right? And
yeah,
that's my job. And so I'm always like, can I schedule my trips to where in the winter I'm in the South and I want to be a snowbird, right? So it doesn't work out that way right now because I'm in the Northeast. So
At
Yeah.
least it's not snowing up there right now.
No, not
I,
right now. It's actually beautiful right
I
now.
think they're actually having a heat wave up in through that area right now. If I the
Really?
Weather Channel earlier, it just seems like everything's reversed because I woke up this morning to or got off work this morning to 31-degree temperatures over here in
Cold
Alma.
for me.
So yeah,
It's Georgia.
yes,
It's
Georgia.
not supposed to be cold.
No, it's not. It's you definitely get to see all 4 seasons in Georgia.
Yes, you do. People don't believe it, but
Yeah,
it's true. Yep. And I love Florida. So,
yeah,
yep. If you look at the map, right, Florida is always just that nice, even, mild. Yes, love
yeah,
it.
yeah. I call whenever I lived down there. I lived in Fort Lauderdale for a while, and you walk outside and it'd be raining across the street and sun shining in your on your yard, and I used to call it
Always that way.
look at the liquid sunshine out there.
Yep. And one thing, I lived in Colorado for 30 years, and I'll tell you, people think Colorado, they think snow, right away, snow. And that's the mountains, right? That's the western slope. It's everything on you've got the front range and then everything on that western slope. Yes, the snow stays up there until June.
Yeah,
However, if you're over in Colorado Springs, Denver, we had 300 days of sunshine a year, the bluest skies you'll ever see.
yeah,
And so a lot of people think, oh, it's just terribly cold. It's not. It was
yeah.
a beautiful place to live. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
got a cousin that lives up in Denver, and
yeah.
I told her I was talking to her the other day. I said hadn't been out in Denver in a while. Last time I was driving a truck over the road, and didn't have time to stop and visit and all that stuff. But I said I need to make a trip out to Denver to see her, and she said need to come.
It is beautiful. It's
Beautiful, yeah,
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Bring some oxygen, but it's beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
Hard to breathe.
Okay, so how would somebody, if anybody's interested in Right to Bear, how would they reach out, get their questions answered? What avenues or what ways can they contact to get their questions answered or to even join?
So our website is protectwithbear.com. Again, it's protectwithbear.com. Use the blueberry promo code to get the specials. And what was that?
BTT.
Oh, that's right. Is it BTT? It's
Yeah,
BTT.
yeah.
Yes. Use BTT as the promo code to get the special and the discount. Because online it is a little pricier than it would be if you used the BTT promo code.
Right.
And then you'll get that locked in rate. We want members to be members.
Yeah.
I will tell you, we don't want people to be forced into a contract.
Mhm.
We don't hold you to, oh, you better pay this or we're going to take your firstborn. I promise you, we don't want your firstborn. So what we will do is if you want to not be a member, then cancel. I mean, we're just like that. If you want to be a member and we defend you, God forbid you have to use any type of weapon, we're there for you. So we have the monthly option, which is so inexpensive. You're talking less than a coffee and a sandwich a month. And then you've got the annual, which is very inexpensive if you go that route.
Right.
And then you're covered.
Okay.
It's one less thing you have to worry about. It's just that peace that you'll have in your heart that no matter where you go, you are protected by the bear. And we will have your back. So it's very important that people go to the website, check it out. If they have any questions too, which is awesome. If you have like legal questions, if you're a member and you have legal questions, just email us and in the subject line say, hey, I have a question about traveling through, the communist state of Illinois. What do I do when I'm traveling through there? How do I transport my firearm?
Right.
Whatever it may be, the attorneys will get right back to you. So it's really nice to have that at your fingertips. But yeah, we're just protectwithbear.com.
Okay, and what were some of the other than just the basic plan? What are some of the extras that they can get with that? I know, like with the minor child.
Sure. Sure. So in the core coverage, you're covered with unlimited attorney fees, criminally, civilly, no caps, no limits. Then we have the expert witness, psychological support, gun replacement, negligent discharge. Those are all included in your core coverage.
Okay.
Your add-ons, we only have 3. And the reason why we love our add-ons is not everybody travels.
Mm-hmm.
So the multi-state coverage is so nice because you're covered in all 50 states. Still have to follow state law in that state. So if you go to New Jersey, I don't know why, but if you did, you just want to make sure that you have less than 10 rounds and you better not have hollow points. So it's 50 state protection. The next add-on we have is the bail bond coverage. I tell folks, if you have your own house, your own boat, your own, cars, and you have assets, then you probably don't need bail bond coverage. But if you don't, get it. It's important. You don't want to sit in jail until your immunity hearing. It sucks. And then during COVID, people were sitting in jail for a year. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And then our last add-on would be minor child. And we do that because not everybody has kids.
Right.
But we cover the kids 17 and under in the home. And it's the whole household. It's not just per child. So you pay one $4 fee or $35 a year, and all your kids are covered in your home. Okay. So it's really nice.
All right. Well, appreciate you discussing that. Got the contact information for Right to Bear, how to sign up and everything. Last question you have, and I didn't put this in your questionnaire list, so it's going to be it's an easy one. I consider it an easy one. What do you do to de-stress or relax from your normal daily activities? What's your go-to to de-stress or relax?
You and Crystal are gonna think I'm crazy because most people say, "Oh, I read a book or I drink a glass of wine." My thing is chocolate milk and court TV. I'm like weird, right?
No.
Weird. My husband swears to God that he says you are plotting the perfect murder or something because all I do is watch those forensic files shows and all your CSI stuff. And my husband's like, are you what you scare me? But that is my de-stress. Like I love it. I watch it like faithfully and I drink chocolate milk. So that's my thing.
Love chocolate, so I can relate to
chocolate
that.
Milk. It's the best drink in the world.
Yeah. Talking about the crime shows, my wife's a big loves those crime documentaries and stuff. Lieutenant Kendra from out in Colorado. She loves all those. And little small story on me. Whenever I hit that golden age of 50, we have after 50, you have that one certain backdoor exam that you have to go through.
Yes, sir.
Should go through.
Yes, sir.
So I was in for preparing for the exam and waiting for it to go back for him to put the scope in. And my wife's watching TV, and I look up. I said, "What are you watching?" And she goes, "This is crime show." I said, "Okay, what's the name of it?" Because I caught part of it while I was talking to the doctor and everything, and it's how to. It was a show talking about husband and wives and how the wives were covering or getting rid of their spouses without them knowing it. I said, "Are you really watching that?" "Yeah." I said, so you need to be careful. I said, "Yes, ma'am."
That's what my husband says. My husband says that to me all the time, and it is so funny that I'm just like Kelly Siegler. She's a prosecutor out of Houston, out of Harris County, Texas. And she's got a new show called Prosecuting Evil. And I tell you what, I am so addicted to that show. And I'm like, and I watch it like faithfully. And my husband's just like, that's just morbid. And I go, it's not. It's like so interesting. I think in my next, career, I might want to get into forensics. I think it's really cool. I love it. So,
okay. Well, we thank you for being a guest on our podcast, and maybe we've looked to have you back on for follow up or the next great thing that Right to Bear does. And we appreciate you coming on and encourage people to, if you get legal protection, consider right to bear, but have some sort of protection for yourself. So with that, we will sign off here. Thank you for listening and enjoy your day.
Thanks, Brian. Bye, Crystal.
Ew.
You.